Business is personal, and on Founder Steps, we stop pretending otherwise. Each episode, I catch up with the founder and ask the questions that are usually not being asked. As a result, a deep, profound business insight, because now you can understand who is behind the business and understand the deeper why, not just the facts that you can Google. So follow for more and let's go. Woo. Hello. We have Johannes here and we will go straight to the deep questions, okay? So first of all, what actually brings your joy and what makes you happy?
I would say, spontaneously, I would say kitesurfing. I love this a lot. I've been doing this for many years, and that's always one thing that comes to my mind whenever I think about things not working related.
And how did you come to this? Was it by accident or you were just trying a lot of stuff? Somebody recommended you?
No, I was living in Cape Town, and that's one of the world's best or famous spots for kitesurfing. And so I already knew about it before, and then I just committed there to learning it.
Amazing. And is it like excitement, the drive that you like, or what makes it more special for you?
So actually, kitesurfing is a little bit like entrepreneurship, right? Because you can grow in so many directions and you can learn so much and make progress. And the nice thing that I like about kiting is that it's not becoming super dangerous. So you can move gradually and try many different disciplines and without always risking your life.
Yeah, that's good. Especially I think with age, I'm thinking I'll be you more taking care of myself and not, for example, jumping off the cliffs and stuff. I had that back in days, but yeah. Just a question, how long ago did you start the venture that you're currently doing?
So the Nomad Cruise, I started a little bit over 10 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. And what brought you to this?
I was one of the first digital nomads, actually. And when I was doing this, there were not many people who were living this lifestyle. And I traveled about 10 months in South America. And I hardly met anyone who was doing this. In 10 months, I met 4 people who were working online. And so I started the first Facebook group for digital nomads in the world. And I just wanted to connect people. I wanted to connect to more people. And then one day I saw that there was a cruise going to Brazil, and I wanted to go back to Brazil for kitesurfing. And so I thought okay, well, this could be a great way to bring this Facebook group together, because it was super cheap trip at that time. And so I just shared this and over 100 people signed up.
Wow, you're such an influencer.
Well, it was just a Facebook group. So, yeah.
Well,
at that time, that was a good way to bring people together and get everyone on board. Yeah.
Let's say it was your first MVP, right? Before you launched it and you tested out actually.
So the idea for the cruise was 5 minutes. I had never been on a cruise before. I just saw, instead of taking the plane, why not bring a lot of people on the ship together? And then we arrive with, a lot of people in South America. Because I experienced the problem of traveling, and when you travel as a digital nomad, you need to reconnect in every city you go. It's not like you're a backpacker, who's consistently moving from one place to another and has a bit of a community. This was what I was thinking. I was not thinking about the cruise. I just thought okay, I just want to, let's use this time instead of just taking a plane to connect on a ship. And then when we arrive in South America, we can have a great time there.
Oh, that's really nice. And I like that this idea, let's say, come to you through your own, let's say, needs of having more people like-minded like you, right, together. This is how I started one of my ventures with the running, let's say, the community. So I do get that idea. So how long did it take you to, from that first trip that you organized and 100 people sign up, to actually launching your own cruise with Nomads only?
Well, it's not with Nomads only. It's we are on a ship with up to 300, 500 people. So we're not filling the full ship. But what we're doing is that we have a lot of private venues on the ship. And even though there are some other people, we are doing it in a way that you don't really realize there's anyone else on board.
That's really cool. And what is the maximum, let's say, amount of people that you brought through your community, let's say, like digital nomads only, and in one cruise?
Ownership, 500. 500.
Amazing.
And once we organized 2 trips at the same time for 300 people each.
Wow. And what helped you to scale, for example, to this amount of people?
It was just word of mouth. In the beginning, it was just mainly word of mouth. It was a little bit of ads. And what really worked, especially in the times before COVID, is a Facebook event. So when you see who else is going, who else is thinking about it, other people sign up, and this automatically created a lot of, momentum. And these days, actually, the whole event marketing is a lot more difficult than it was at that time. Like in the past, everyone used Facebook as the main platform, and now things have changed a little bit.
That's for sure. I think it's getting crazy with all the ads, the competition, AI and stuff, the challenges of scaling, let's say, the marketing. And was it your first business venture that you created? Or you had other, for example, businesses before you did this one?
I had a business which was purely online marketing, selling cards for therapy online, where I helped my mom to build this business. It was a pure 4-hour work week business. So like inspired by the book, The 4-Hour Work Week.
Oh, okay.
And I had read that book, and I wanted to travel the world, and I wanted to have, like a product that just helped me to do it. And that business still runs until today.
Wow, you're a living experience of that it's possible to build a business with a 4-hour work week, right? It's only 4 hours per week of working. Until what, for example, it's possible to scale this kind of business by working that little?
I think that you could scale it much, much more. I did. There were definitely times when I was working more on this, right? So, but it's definitely possible to do it. You just need to have a good product idea and then a good system of ads that works. But of course, like always, depending on the focus that we have, there can be a lot more time invested, and then it would be way more successful, right? So it's always the question. That's actually something that I notice a lot with the digital nomads. They are more focused on also enjoying their life versus just working nonstop. So they're building the system a bit more that is not, to maximize profits or clients, but just something that runs. And once they find their niche, they stick to that. So, but that works very well in general. Like if you have like e-commerce products that are a little bit, not everyone copies or something.
Yeah, I do recall, when I was stuck in Bali during the COVID, I met some people when I really realized that you can make money from anything. So there was one guy who was selling like moon lamps, like moon-shaped lamps on Amazon, and was making like 2-3K per month, like, stably. And it was like enough for him to live his life in Bali. And the strangest one was a guy who was doing like books for the kids through Canva, and also selling on Amazon, like apple plus banana equals 2, something like that. And he was clipping this, books selling for $2-3 per book, and like 100 plus books. And he created a course on that, and also 3, maybe 4,000 a month he was doing, and happily with that.
Yeah, that definitely works. And there's like, for example, I see a lot of potential in general, like even today, for like printed products, right? So if you could have your own ideas, and you bring, ideas that you have onto a print product, and you sell that online, that is already, you can create a lot of value, because whatever you're creating, right, works pretty well. So,
and if I may ask some numbers, if you can say, like what is the maximum capacity that you reached, or approximately, with this 4 hours working week business?
I can't talk about it. But we sold well over 7 figures over there.
Oh, wow.
Not per year, but...
Okay, then if I may ask, do you have any regrets in terms of your life or business specifically?
I think I should have learned Spanish when I started my nomad life. So I did like a course, but I didn't really take it serious. And it's bringing me back to Spain all the time. So I think that's one regret that I had, that I would have, where like I'm now thinking to like really invest a bit more time. Like it's very basic still. And another regret, I would say, like just sometimes committing a little bit longer to cities and to places. But this has been also very difficult with me running this cruise business. So I'm trying to do that a little bit more now here in Barcelona.
Amazing. So yeah, I guess it's not that easy to run a digital nomad business, not being a digital nomad.
Yeah. So you're kind of a little bit forced to travel a bit more.
Yeah, I bet it is. And if we talk also still about, let's say, a difficult decision, can you name one difficult or several difficult decisions that you ever made throughout your career in business?
There's a lot of difficult decisions, especially when you're running an event that involves a lot of people. So you need to always find the balance between what do people want and what is going to harm the business, right? So because if you would just do what everyone wants, your business would be bankrupt very fast. So regarding, organizing cruises and stuff, like there have been a lot, like nothing like specific comes to my mind now, but that's always the struggle that I have. But for that reason, doing surveys is extremely important. When you have a lot of people involved like this. And that helps you, and that also helps you to explain, what you want to do and stuff. So that's a key thing. Yeah.
And now if we go to the bright side, what actually motivates you?
Well, I do know. So,
I hope you do.
so basically, when I was a digital nomad, I really believed in this lifestyle, and I think it was amazing. But in the first year, I met, just 5 people who were doing the same. And I know how lonely this can be and how difficult it can be, to do this. And what kind of motivates me is to really build something that really connects people and makes it easy for them to travel. Just build, like what I wish I could have had when I was living the lifestyle and there was like nobody doing this.
Yeah, that's really noble of you, let's say.
Well, I mean, and I also like, to have challenges or make things better, and building a product like the cruise, where on the one hand marketing changes all the time, where there's like a lot of different types of ships and experiences that you can work on, and also a lot of places around the world. All this are like challenges by itself. I mean, but until now we've organized actually trips on all 7 continents, to all 7 continents, including Antarctica.
Wow.
Already had a lot of experience traveling before, but like it's kind of cool sometimes to like have these bucket list destinations where you're like, oh, I really want to go there, or want to take the community there. So that also obviously motivates me, like just to make the product just better. Yeah, just to organize cool things.
What about the ultimate goal? Do you have it for your life or the business? So where are you going? Do you have a specific northern star, let's say?
One day I would like to like really do a cruise on a full ship with like 3,000 people, 2,000 people. So that's something. It's not necessarily like, the big goal. My big goal is just, to grow this. And it's already very difficult to just grow it. And I take it step by step. And then when I reach, the first thing, the first step, then I take the next one. Doing this, making a good impact, or maybe also like bringing nomads to places where they are really needed, not necessarily where we would be, where we have a bad reputation because we would be taking over property, like rental space, but really making a positive impact to countries by bringing like a full cruise ship there, or like a lot of people. That's also like something I want to like focus more on, do more. Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. Amazing. And we know that usually founders quite often, let's say, are driven by their own egos as well. And just a quick question for you. It's a little bit strange and like, let's say, hypothetical.
Okay.
So would you rather like, become famous throughout your life and, succeed enormously, and once, it ends for you, you're forgotten, or you would prefer not to reach the peak when you are, lived and be remembered for like centuries?
To be honest, I'm not driven by ego at all. Because I kind of ended up in this business. Like it was more like the Nomad Cruise was a 5-minute idea. I just wanted to like connect to other nomads, and I did the right thing by starting the first Facebook group in the world for digital nomads. and people joined, and then I wanted to just build a great product and stuff. And I'm not so much like, it's like, actually sometimes I think about this, but I really don't care. If I would want to be famous, I would do different things, or I would put myself on the stage there. But I actually just like to create something where people can shine and to give people even more things. And I rather just want to, enjoy my life and go kite surfing.
Okay, that's so sweet. Let's say. But for example, if you have a choice to become famous, like this is just like one opportunity,
Yeah.
you will become famous. What do you want to become famous for?
Just for, doing good things in the digital nomad world.
Okay, that's very novel. Okay, I like it. How about, for example, your life balance? Do you have it? Do you think you are living your life balanced, or it's still more like into work? And also another like question to this one, like, do you still treat, for example, this business as what inspired you for the first one is 4 hours a week, or it's a bit different situation here?
I did not have much life balance in the last, like say, 2 years. I was very focused on the business. So the thing is, it was like running pretty well until COVID, and then COVID kind of destroyed everything. And then I tried to return, and then, you also have to deal with cruise lines, and that's also not an easy thing to deal with, and like to make it so that we can organize these events on the ships. It's not something that you can just go there and do it. Like, it requires a lot of work. And so there have been like different struggles with this all the time over the past 2 years in all different kinds. And so at the moment, I'm like actually really focused more on like bringing a bit more balance to my life.
Okay.
And I also wanted to take it a bit more easy, which is like why I'm a bit more settled here in Barcelona, and so that I can achieve that. And I'm also very grateful for AI, which makes my life a lot easier too.
Ooh. How much of AI you're implementing, by the way, right now in the business?
I want to implement it in all parts, like, or in many parts that we can, in the way to just like do boring, repetitive work much easier, from marketing to customer support. I still want to have everyone who's working there to be involved and like to overlook the processes, but just so that we can do everything 5 times faster in the same time, and then like have more impact or grow bigger,
And for the scale, let's say 100%, how much penetration of AI right now in your business?
At the moment, it's not that much. I've been learning it.
20% less?
It's hard to say, because actually also the struggle is that when you're doing something like Nomad Cruise and you only have 2 events per year, it's not that you can automate processes. It's more about like, for the marketing, we do it a lot. Yeah, like for creating copies and stuff. It's quite a tricky thing to automate, especially like with events that are always in a different destination and always like different length. There are like different challenges with each trip. So it's not that much, but I want to do it more like for the marketing and the growth.
And I bet because you're doing a lot of, let's say, partnerships and collaboration with the cruises, maybe with other companies and stuff, like you do partner a lot of people. Like, what are the 3 non-negotiables with you choosing a partner?
I'm still learning that. So
I can feel there are some very interesting stories.
yeah. So, I mean, what I realized is like, it really doesn't matter how many followers you have. Like, for example, if we're working with other creators, can be millions, and people can still be quite useless. To say it like this, it's about the effort that someone puts into the work. And oftentimes, like, people who have like much less, reach, but are way more connected to their community, that I have found much better. Like, even people who just own a co-living space, they can. So it's really, I think when it comes to partnership, it's really important to look that there is a lot of overlap in the things that we do and that we believe in. Just, any shout out or like a simple partnership, just an email, just never works, in my opinion. Any kind of partnership, it needs to be a really good fit.
And how about, for example, the values maybe, or something from their side that you notice that you are not going to agree on unless there's something you can see or stuff?
really depends on the type of partnership. I just feel that it needs to feel like a win-win for both. And I've made a lot of bad experiences with that, but also a lot of good ones. And I just like to work with people who want to also try to make it a win-win and don't have like a taker attitude that I've also seen many times.
I bet you did. Can you share one of the, let's say, lessons learned experiences? Not maybe naming names or stuff, but
I would just say, like, in general, the thing is, like, when you're working with creators, oftentimes I think that they should also try to bring value to the things that they are doing, and just a post might not always be, enough. Like, also really try to do, whatever we are doing, like just having a reach it's just not, that's not what it's all about anymore. It's about like the connection that you're building with your own audience and how strong that is. And then can you then also deliver value to other people? So I think it could be like very helpful for everyone who's working, on personal branding or creators to like really look, not just aim for followers, but like also aim for value of the partnerships that they're doing.
That's a good take. And you mentioned that this last 2 years you are more invested in the company, right? And growing the business and stuff. For example, lessons learned for this 2 years that you could have done differently from the beginning if you would knew. Like if we go 2 years back, for example, in the past, what would you do maybe differently?
I think in general, a struggle with events is that oftentimes we don't have enough time.
Always not enough time.
There's always not enough time, but like to really try to plan more things, plan them more ahead, like really have a clear, idea where you're going. So for example, for us right now, we have almost planned until next year, November, everything. We are just about to like be pretty sure what we're going to do until next year, November. So that's 1.5 years planning in advance. And with the major events and with the things that we want to do. And it used to be in the beginning, just even 3 or 4 months. I didn't know, like sometimes I would launch a cruise like 4 months before. I oftentimes found myself is like not actually working on like what is best for the business, but just like, okay, how do you feel like these kind of commitments that you already made with cruise lines or things. So I think like, sometimes it's not about like working that hard, but it's like really actually taking the time to think, okay, what are the 3-4 things I can do that create the most impact? Who can I find who can help me to achieve these things? And then things can work much smoother. So working under time pressure is never a good thing.
Okay, that's a good one. Though I think there are some types of people, right, who are working the best under the pressure of time. I think it's also
including myself.
You just that you don't really want to do that.
Yeah. So I work a lot better under time pressure, but the struggle is that sometimes if you're thinking like, okay, now if I would have more time to like really fine tune this process. And, how do we do collaborations, for example, with other creators? How do we plan the trip in advance? Like, how do these things work? And how do we document this properly? It would be much more beneficial. And sometimes it's not possible to do that because you have so much time pressure. When you don't have much time pressure, oftentimes what I find myself is starting to work on things that I'm just like excited about, at this moment. And there also I need to remind myself, but to be really honest, I think that the whole entrepreneurship in many times it's also just like learning and and going through doing all the mistakes that are possible to do and just also always reminding yourself like, okay, like it's probably better to just focus on one thing and not work on 15 different projects. But we all kind of have to like burn our fingers first.
Yeah, that's for sure. Just most importantly, let's say we need to learn from these mistakes and not just to, give it away, let's say.
That's true. Yes, for sure.
So they say there are 2 main types of motivation. When there's a carrot in front of you, let's say, and carrot from the back of you. So what kind of motivations really usually pushes you forward?
I think actually both.
Really?
Yeah. on the one hand, like the time pressure and stuff like that really makes me work, or like sometimes also like very big mistakes help me a lot to like rethink, but also like the excitement of, planning something that wasn't there before. So yeah.
Okay. Have you had, for example, throughout this business, let's say 10 years, right, any pivotal moments that, somehow changed maybe the way of your thinking, or like where you pivoted your whole business and stuff? If yes, so which one was that?
I think the one is COVID, right? Where we basically switched from a cruise business to just events around the world.
Okay.
So we started another project called Nomad Base. And right now, actually, like a new thing that we're doing is, so I always had like these ideas, to build an app that connects our community much better throughout the year. And it was always a little bit difficult to do this. And now with AI, we can build anything. And so we already did it. Like we already have it, and we're building actually like an entire system that is like connecting the Nomad Cruise with also like the Nomad Base project, and keeps everyone, and like, so the entire ecosystem we are building now. And this would have never been possible really to do before. Like I think we would have paid, 100,000 plus for this. And now we can build something that's like really, really amazing. I have a very good feeling about it. Actually, AI is the other pivotal moment that will just change the way we are doing business.
Yeah, that's really insightful to hear, and I'm really glad that you said that, because I see how AI for sure can, change a lot. And my business is actually, let's say, based on AI. And if there's no AI, also like my, let's say, approach and the monetization system, etc., will be very different. So I do love AI, and I think it's the best thing that happened in the last few years. But I unfortunately see with a lot of founders, they're still not, like either adapting, or they're using somehow, but not as much as they could. But though I do meet also some other founders. For example, I went to that the founders camp, right? And like 90, let's say 80, okay, percent of those founders said that they will not even hire a new person in their team unless they know how to vibe code. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting.
I think it's the number one skill to learn right now.
Right now, for
really,
sure.
or I mean, to vibe code and to just really know how to apply the stuff, right? Like if you're working in social media, you need to learn like how to post things and how to create things fast.
Yeah.
And if you can bring a lot of value, you can then really be also very, very valuable, right? Like for the people that you're working with. And then the whole payment per hour also changes in many ways.
But for example, with AI right now, have you noticed that you, for example, hire less or more people, or did it impact hiring in general or not?
So actually going back to what I said a little bit earlier, that we're not implementing a lot of AI, that's not entirely true, because we're building like a new system, but that's like something that we haven't done before, right? So we're doing more things than we did actually before. I think in the end we will be able to bring on like probably even more people because of AI, because we can do things that we could never do before.
That sounds exciting. Yeah. And if, for example, you could get any superpower that is business related, which superpower would you choose?
Having the knowledge to take myself even more out of the business.
Okay.
And making it grow faster with less work.
That's a dream. Yeah. For now, for example, like, are you 100% on deck or a bit less already?
It depends on the part of the business. So some I'm more involved and some I'm less involved. Yeah.
And what is your personal favorite thing to do related to business?
So what I like in general is to create the idea of, to see a route that we can potentially do. And then I've been to the place before where we're going to arrive, and like think like, okay, what can we do and what can we build around it? Like actually when the trip is happening, I'm not involved that much at all anymore. So it's more about like kind of sketching the idea and thinking like, what can we do to make this amazing?
Have you ever thought of any other business ideas that are not related to digital nomads? Like if you wanted to go to any other spaces and stuff.
The one thing I'm thinking about is to help other people to organize events on cruise ships. So that's one thing that we can definitely do, bring more communities on the ships, because it's been very, very difficult to do it in the past. And I do see a lot of value in this.
And where do you think like this cruise ship in general, like ideas, nomads or etc., is going in the nearest future? Where do you see a potential?
Well, I mean, I'm not really, for us right now, it's just more about like making the groups larger, but we don't want to like necessarily organize more trips for the community, but just bring like more, bring more people on board, but like not that this kind of makes the experience worse, because of course always the bigger the group, the less connected people are. We kind of do like around 3 trips per year, and then it's about more adding like maybe other products to this. So I would love to start actually a co-living space somewhere in Italy, maybe, then more like so just to keep the community connected throughout the year. We're building an app that connects everyone, so we're just adding like more products to make things a bit better.
Okay, amazing. And in terms of your own proud moments, what is you are most proud of? What have you achieved, for example, you've done?
So I think that we did pretty well connecting a lot of people and changing their lives who were coming on the trip. And that's one thing I keep hearing all the time, like how it really helped people to find great friendships, have even kids, so there's a lot of so I think that we did achieve quite a lot there. And that's like good to hear, when it makes a positive change to people's lives.
That's very, very cute. And I had another question. If you would not be an entrepreneur, for example, at this moment, would you do it again, or would you choose a different path?
I wouldn't do it again.
Just say why?
It's a lot of work, and I think there are much easier ways to be successful than doing just an event, and like maybe starting more like from the course direction, or like providing value to other businesses, and then scaling that. So a cruise, organizing like this event, what I'm doing right now, it's not, but I just ended up in this, and I'm quite resilient.
Okay.
And I'm doing it, and I mean, I like to see like how it's making a positive impact or whatsoever, but I wouldn't necessarily say like, hey, just do this as well. Like there are easier ways to make to have an easy life, easy successful life.
Yeah, one of my friends says that entrepreneurship is a subscription to a struggle.
Yeah, it's about with how many difficult things you can deal at the same time, and the better you can do it, the more you can achieve.
Yeah, for sure. So what is for you personally the worst thing about being an entrepreneur?
That it's hard to switch off sometimes. That you're like in your head oftentimes very, very involved, like especially if the project is quite complex. So that's why like I think the key thing is really to focus on one like very quite simple thing and make that really, really successful. And the more focus you have, the more freedom you have also to then think about other things. With a project like the cruise, there's a lot of complexities at the same time. So I think that I managed over the years to handle this quite well. It's taking a lot of mental energy.
But then what is the best thing about entrepreneur?
I could just not be in an office with a boss. It's not
this boss.
So I've never really done that, just about 4 months of my life.
Really?
And I like to, work on things that I enjoy. And then if I don't enjoy them, I give them to someone else. I think we all have like different personalities. And that's a bit like, I couldn't really do something without being entrepreneur at the moment, like, or having a boss, that gives me a lot of freedom to work on something really cool. Then I could also do it, but on my own terms.
You can still go back even to working for somebody if, there will be something like that.
If it feels like entrepreneurship, yes.
Okay.
But otherwise, no.
Yeah, I think they're on a certain level when you grow, right? You do have a certain freedom. Like I definitely, for example, when I talk to like young people who want to be an entrepreneur. I would say the worst reason to become an entrepreneur is the reason that, oh, I don't want to work for somebody else, just because I do believe they're not yet on the higher level of their freedom. Because even not long time ago, I was working for a company. I loved it. It was like very nice salary, bonuses, stuff. You can still grow and be successful in a company while having freedom and creativity. It's just you need to get to that level, let's say.
Exactly. Yeah, I think, and I mean, you can also learn a lot from people
For sure.
if you're willing to learn. So I think that it really depends on the position where you're in. Like it definitely makes a lot more sense to kind of work in a startup that way you can like grow with it and like be promoted, and like you see, you know, how it's from like very small to very successful, and then like take all the stuff that you learned with you. So really depends on, you know, what type of business you're involved with, doing yourself. Everything, yeah, it's can be very difficult. And also like if everyone thinks that that's like just a lot of fun, like there's so much stuff in the business that you don't enjoy doing no matter what kind of business it is.
What do you think are three, let's say, your baseline values that help you to be more successful entrepreneur?
To not give up and to not change, you know, what I'm working on, like, but like be like very persistent and to learn and like to be like curious. So I think like always being curious, like, hey, this can be done. And also not to like always think like, oh, this hasn't been done before, or like this is not done. Like, so there's no similar project like the cruise actually around the world. I was just thinking like, you know, like in a way this makes sense. So why can I not try this, right? You know, not to be afraid to pioneer and try things and then like let them fail. But yeah, like curiosity, persistence, not giving up. Yeah.
Amazing. I love it. I do think entrepreneurs genuinely need to be curious, you know, about solving the problems, you know, challenges, or exploring new things, conquering, right? Because I think once you stop being curious, like your business might die like over time.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's exactly the thing, right? Like if you're not curious and you don't really have a reason, you know, to grow it, then that's more difficult. Yeah.
So what's one piece of advice you would like young generation of entrepreneurs to hear?
To build connections and to really try to be like, to really learn a lot of stuff. Like it's not about, I mean, especially like right now with AI, there's a lot of opportunities, but there's also a lot of danger that you can be fully behind. So actually like understanding this vibe coding game and like really learning how to do anything and understanding that, I would really like focus on that. And then at the same time building connections with like experienced business people is also really important, because if you can build all that stuff but you don't have like a human personal connection, then also nobody's gonna take it, right?
Yes.
And you can't really get a lot of feedback or anything. So having like trusted community and the skills of AI, I think that's a key thing.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you very much for joining, and follow for more of Deep Talks with Entrepreneurs. Yay!
Pleasure.